It's Tuesday, September 17th, 2024, 6:15 p.m., and the Roosevelt Avenue subway station in Jackson Heights disgorges another wave of humanity onto the streets of Queens. The temperature has settled at 71 degrees, perfect early autumn weather. Above ground, the air smells like grilled onions, exhaust fumes, and the particular mixture of 100 different cuisines that makes this neighborhood what it is. On the northeast corner, exactly 17 feet from the subway entrance, Miguel Reyes operates his hot dog cart with the same methodical precision he's maintained for 8 years. White apron, reading glasses, a transistor radio playing salsa music at low volume. To the 200-plus regular customers who stop by his cart each week, he's simply Miguel, the friendly old man who remembers their names, asks about their kids, and somehow always has their order ready before they finish talking. What they don't know, what the three men now approaching from across Roosevelt Avenue absolutely don't know, is that Miguel Reyes spent 28 years commanding Marine Force reconnaissance units. He led 217 combat missions across 3 war zones. He planned and executed 14 successful hostage extractions in Fallujah. He trained 3 generations of Special Operations Marines in advanced combat tactics. He still runs 5 miles every morning at 4 a.m., maintains a resting heart rate of 58, and can field strip an M4 carbine in 41 seconds in complete darkness. The 3 men wear expensive sneakers and carry themselves with the particular swagger of people who've never been told no. Miguel notices them when they're still 40 feet away. He's already cataloged their movement patterns, identified the bulges under 2 of their jackets, and assessed threat level. His hands continue preparing a hot dog for Mrs. Chen, a regular who works at the dry cleaner across the street. His expression doesn't change, but something in Miguel Reyes, something that's been dormant for 8 years, clicks into a mode he thought he'd left behind forever. Protagonist Deep Dive. Miguel Alejandro Reyes was born in San Antonio, Texas in 1952. His father, Carlos, was a mechanic who'd served in Korea. His mother, Elena, cleaned houses for wealthy families in Alamo Heights. Miguel grew up in a 3-bedroom house with 4 siblings, learning early that discipline and hard work were the only reliable paths forward. He enlisted in the Marine Corps 3 days after his 18th birthday, partly from patriotism, partly from pragmatism. The military offered college money and a way out of San Antonio that didn't involve following his father into the automotive trade. Basic training at Paris Island didn't break Miguel. It refined him. His drill instructors noted something unusual. While other recruits struggled with the psychological pressure, Miguel seemed to thrive in high-stress environments. He had a gift for remaining calm when everyone else panicked, for processing information while chaos erupted around him. By 21, he'd completed the grueling reconnaissance training program at Camp Pendleton. By 24, he was selected for Force Reconnaissance, the Marine Corps' elite special operations unit that operates behind enemy lines conducting deep reconnaissance and direct action missions. Between 1976 and 2004, Miguel deployed to 23 countries across 4 continents. The official record shows operations in Lebanon, Grenada, Panama, Somalia, Iraq, and Afghanistan. The classified record includes half a dozen other locations the government won't acknowledge for another 30 years. He rose through the ranks steadily, sergeant by 26, staff sergeant by 30, master sergeant by 35. At 42, he accepted a commission and became a warrant officer, a rare path that recognized his tactical expertise while keeping him operational rather than pushing him behind a desk. His specialty was what the military calls direct action operations, the polite term for raids, ambushes, and eliminations of high-value targets. Miguel commanded teams that operated in the most hostile environments on Earth: Mogadishu in 1993, Fallujah in 2004, the Hindu Kush Mountains in 2002. His service record lists 217 combat missions. Former teammates say the real number exceeds 300. He earned 2 Silver Stars, 4 Bronze Stars, and a Navy Cross for valor under fire. The specific actions remain classified, but one former operator told me, Miguel could walk into hell, complete the mission, and walk out without a scratch. We called him the Ghost. What made Miguel exceptional wasn't physical prowess, though at 52 he could still outrun most 25-year-olds. It was his tactical mind. He processed combat situations with computer-like speed, calculating angles, distances, threat assessments, and probability matrices faster than most people could identify a problem. Colonel David Harrison, who commanded Miguel's unit from 1998 to 2003, described it this way: "Most operators react to threats. Miguel anticipated them. He'd position his team based on what enemies might do 3 moves ahead. I've seen chess masters with less strategic thinking. But combat takes a toll that medals don't measure." By 2004, Miguel had seen 17 teammates killed in action. He'd personally eliminated 47 confirmed enemy combatants, the official number, though colleagues estimate the real count exceeded 70. He'd witnessed atrocities in Somalia that still invaded his dreams. He'd held dying Marines in Fallujah while waiting for medevac helicopters that arrived too late. The human cost accumulated like interest on an unpaid debt. In 2003, Miguel married Sofia Martinez, a teacher he met at a friend's wedding in San Diego. She was 38, had never been married, and possessed a calm strength that reminded Miguel of his mother. For the first time in his adult life, he had something to lose beyond mission success. They had one daughter, Isabella, born in 2004. Miguel held his infant daughter in the hospital and made a decision. He'd give the Marine Corps 5 more years, then retire. He'd already sacrificed enough. It was time to build something instead of destroy. He kept that promise. On December 15, 2004, after 28 years and 4 months of service, Master Sergeant Miguel Reyes retired from active duty. His pension was $3,947 monthly. Decent money, enough to live on. He'd saved $120,000 over his career. The plan was simple: move to New York where Sofia's sister lived, find quiet work, raise his daughter in peace. No more violence, no more death, no more waiting for the phone call that he wouldn't come home. They settled in Jackson Heights in 2005. Miguel worked construction for 2 years, but the physical labor aggravated old injuries: a shrapnel wound in his left thigh from Mogadishu, compression fractures in his lower back from a parachute malfunction in 2001. In 2007, he used $35,000 of his savings to buy a hot dog cart from a retiring vendor. The location, northeast corner of Roosevelt Avenue and 74th Street, cost him another $15,000 in permits, fees, and the unofficial arrangement with the local business association. It seemed like a come-down, from commanding elite warriors to selling hot dogs. But Miguel found peace in the simplicity. Wake at 4 a.m., run 5 miles, home by 5:30 a.m., breakfast with Sofia and Isabella, prep the cart by 9 a.m., work the lunch and dinner rush until 9 p.m., close up, home by 10 p.m. The routine was meditative. The interaction with customers, genuine, human, uncomplicated, healed something combat had broken. For 8 years, Miguel maintained this life. He watched Isabella grow from a toddler to a teenager. She graduated high school in 2022, started nursing school at Queens College, moved into her own apartment in Elmhurst this past spring. Sofia continued teaching 3rd grade at PS 149. They celebrated their 21st anniversary last month with dinner at an Italian restaurant in Astoria. Miguel's cart generated approximately $85,000 annually after expenses. Combined with Sofia's teacher salary of $78,000 and his pension, they lived comfortably. They'd saved $67,000 toward retirement in Florida. Miguel never told his customers about his past. The other vendors knew he was former military. The discipline, the bearing, the way he organized his cart gave it away. But nobody knew the specifics. His closest friend on the block was Omar Hassan, who ran a falafel cart 3 corners down. They'd talk about football, complain about the rising cost of supplies, share gossip about neighborhood developments. Omar once asked if Miguel had seen combat. Miguel's response: "Some, long time ago, different life." The truth was more complicated. Miguel hadn't fired a weapon since 2004. He'd deliberately created distance from that identity. He didn't attend veteran reunions. He didn't display his medals. He kept his service record in a file box in the basement, untouched. When people thanked him for his service, which happened occasionally when they noticed the faded USMC tattoo on his forearm, he'd nod politely and change the subject. But you don't erase 28 years of training. Every morning during his run, Miguel still conducted area assessments, noting changes in the neighborhood, cataloging faces, identifying potential threats. When he worked his cart, part of his mind remained tactical. Exit routes, improvised weapons, threat vectors. It wasn't paranoia. It was programming. The Marine Corps had rebuilt his neural pathways for survival, and those pathways don't simply disappear because you stop wearing the uniform. His therapist, a civilian psychologist specializing in veteran trauma, had a term for it: adaptive hypervigilance. Miguel saw her monthly, a commitment he'd made to Sofia when nightmares about Fallujah became too frequent. The therapy helped. He learned breathing techniques, cognitive reframing strategies, ways to separate past from present. Most days he succeeded. Some days, a loud noise or unexpected movement would trigger something, and for half a second he'd be back in Mogadishu, assessing threats, calculating responses. Miguel carried one thing from his military life: a mindset. He'd spent 3 decades protecting people, his Marines, innocent civilians, American interests abroad. That instinct didn't retire when he did. When he saw the neighborhood kids playing, when elderly customers struggled with heavy bags, when Sofia's students visited the cart excited to meet Mrs. Reyes' husband, Miguel felt protective. This was his territory now. Not in a possessive way, but in the way a shepherd protects his flock. Which is why what's about to happen isn't just a business transaction gone wrong. It's a fundamental violation of the one thing Miguel Reyes values most in his quiet civilian life: the safety of his community. The gathering storm. The Tuesday evening rush is predictable. Between 5 p.m. and 7:30 p.m., Miguel serves approximately 140 customers, about 60% of his daily sales. Commuters grabbing dinner before heading home, students from nearby schools, construction workers finishing late shifts. The rhythm is comforting. Take order, prepare food, collect payment, brief conversation, next customer. At 6:12 p.m., Miguel notices the 3 men. They're standing across Roosevelt Avenue, near the entrance to the 82nd Street station, watching. Not looking at phones, not waiting for someone. Watching. His mind catalogs details automatically. Hispanic males, mid-20s to early 30s, athletic builds. 2 wearing expensive Nike sneakers, retail approximately $180. Designer jeans, leather jackets despite the warm weather. The 3rd in Timberland boots, cargo pants, a hoodie. Street fashion, but high-end. Combined outfit value per person, $600, $800. Not neighborhood kids, not regular commuters. Miguel serves Mrs. Chen her hot dog with sauerkraut, extra mustard, no onions, her usual. She pays with exact change, $3.50. Asks about Sofia, mentions her granddaughter's upcoming birthday. Miguel smiles, makes appropriate small talk, watches the 3 men with peripheral vision. They're still watching. One of them, the tallest, wearing the hoodie, makes a phone call. Brief conversation, 40 seconds. He hangs up, says something to the other 2. They nod. At 6:15 p.m. they cross Roosevelt Avenue against the light, weaving through traffic with practiced ease. They're walking directly toward Miguel's cart. Miguel's heart rate increases slightly, from 58 to 64 beats per minute. His breathing remains controlled. His hands continue working. Preparing a hot dog for his next customer, a regular named James who works construction and always orders 2 dogs with everything. James is talking about the Mets game last night. Miguel nods, responds appropriately, but 70% of his attention is on the approaching men. They arrive at his cart at 6:16 p.m. The tall one in the hoodie positions himself directly in front, blocking Miguel's view of the street. The other 2 flank either side, standard intimidation formation. Miguel recognizes it immediately. Control the target's sightlines, dominate the space, create psychological pressure. The tall one smiles. Gold tooth, left incisor, scar through his right eyebrow. Approximately 6.2, 190 pounds, athletic build suggesting regular gym work. Miguel Reyes, right? His English is perfect, accentless American. We need to talk business. Miguel finishes preparing James's hot dogs, wraps them, hands them over. $3.50, he says to James, who pays and walks away, oblivious to the tension. I'm working, Miguel says to the tall man. You want to order something? The man's smile doesn't change, but his eyes harden. I said we need to talk business. This isn't a customer conversation. Miguel wipes his hands on his apron, removes his reading glasses, looks directly at the man. I'm listening. Good, that's smart. The man glances at his companions, then back to Miguel. My name's Ricardo. These are my associates, Javier and Luis. We represent certain business interests in this neighborhood. You've been operating here, 8 years? About that. 8 years, nobody's ever approached you about protection services. That's an oversight we're correcting. Starting next week, you'll pay $2,000 weekly. Every Tuesday, 6 p.m., someone comes to collect. You pay, everything stays smooth. No problems, no stress. Just business. Miguel's expression doesn't change. Inside, his tactical mind is processing. 3 threats, all armed, confirmed by subtle bulges under jackets. Organized group, Sinaloa based on tattoo visible on Luis's neck. Standard extortion protocol. Standard response options. Comply, negotiate, refuse, or eliminate threat. That's a lot of money, Miguel says calmly. It's insurance, Ricardo replies. You pay, nothing bad happens to your business, your cart doesn't get vandalized. Your daughter, Isabella, right? Nursing student at Queens College. She doesn't have any problems walking home from class. Your wife, Sophia, teaches at PS 149. She keeps teaching without worrying about safety. See, Miguel, we're not asking for much. We're offering you peace of mind. The mention of Isabella and Sophia shifts something in Miguel's mind. His heart rate increases to 72. His right hand, resting on the cart's metal surface, flexes once. His jaw tightens almost imperceptibly. How do you know my family? His voice remains level, but the temperature has dropped. Ricardo's smile widens. We know everything about everyone who works this block, Miguel. That's our job. Your daughter lives on 43rd Avenue, apartment 3B. She takes the R train to campus, usually arrives home around 8:30 p.m. Your wife walks home from school every day, stops at Key Food on the way, gets home around 4:45 p.m. See, we pay attention. Javier, the one on Miguel's left, speaks for the first time. We know your grandson too. Marcus, right? Plays Little League for the Jackson Heights Dodgers. Cute kid. Plays shortstop. Miguel's grandson. Isabella's 6-year-old son from a previous relationship. The boy visits every Sunday, wears a tiny Mets jersey, asks Miguel to teach him Spanish. The mention of Marcus crosses a line that Ricardo doesn't understand he's crossing. 2,000 weekly. Miguel says slowly. That's 104,000 yearly. Math checks out, Ricardo says. But think about it like this. You make what, 85, 90,000 a year from this cart? You keep most of that, we're just taking a piece. Fair exchange for services rendered. What services? Protection, security. Peace of mind. Protection from what? Ricardo's smile finally fades. From things that might happen if you don't pay, Miguel. Don't make this difficult. We've had this conversation with 47 other vendors in Jackson Heights. 47 said yes. You'll be 48. Everyone pays. That's how this works. Miguel is silent for 10 seconds. His mind is running probability calculations. If he refuses, they'll escalate. Possibly tonight, possibly tomorrow, but certainly soon. If he agrees, he's funding an organization that destroys communities, enslaves people through debt and fear, corrupts everything it touches. If he contacts police, there's a 40% chance of effective intervention and a 60% chance the cartel retaliates before law enforcement can act. There's a fourth option. It's the one Miguel has avoided thinking about for 8 years. It's the option that belongs to a different version of himself, the one who led raids in Fallujah, who eliminated threats with surgical precision, who protected his Marines by ending threats before they materialized. I need time to think about it, Miguel says finally. Ricardo shakes his head. No thinking necessary. This is happening. The only question is whether it happens easy or hard. You seem like a smart guy, Miguel. Smart guys choose easy. 48 hours, Miguel says. Give me until Thursday, same time. I'll have an answer. Ricardo studies Miguel's face, looking for weakness, for fear. He sees neither. What he sees is a calm, steady gaze from a 72-year-old man who should be intimidated, but somehow isn't. Thursday, 6 p.m., Ricardo says finally. Don't make us come looking for you. And Miguel? Don't do anything stupid like calling police. We have friends in the department. We'll know before you hang up the phone. Understand? Miguel nods once. Ricardo and his associates walk away, heading east on Roosevelt Avenue. They don't look back. Why would they? They've delivered this speech successfully 47 times. An elderly hot dog vendor isn't going to be the first failure. Miguel watches them until they disappear into the crowd. Then he serves his next customer, a teenager who wants a pretzel. His hands are steady. His voice is calm. But his mind is working through a problem he hasn't confronted in 8 years. How much violence is justified to protect the people you love? At 6:43 p.m., Miguel makes a phone call. He uses his personal cell phone, not the cart's business line. The number belongs to someone he hasn't contacted in 6 years. It rings 4 times before someone answers. Miguel? The voice sounds surprised. That you? Yeah, it's me. We need to talk. Everything okay? Miguel watches the evening crowd flow past his cart. Families, workers, students, his community, his responsibility, even if they don't know it. No, Miguel says quietly. Everything is not okay. Before we continue, I want to know, where are you watching from? Drop your city and state in the comments. This story happened in Queens, but it could have been anywhere in America. I want to know where this channel reaches, and I want to hear from you throughout this story. Act 2, the confrontation. The decision point. Miguel closes his cart at 9:00 p.m. exactly on schedule. He wheels it to the storage facility he rents 3 blocks away, locks it in Bay 17, walks the 15 minutes to his apartment on 37th Avenue. Sophia is already home, grading papers at the kitchen table. She looks up when he enters, smiles, asks about his day. Same as always, Miguel says. He's not lying exactly. The routine was the same. The threat is new, but Sophia doesn't need to carry that weight tonight. He showers, changes into sweatpants and a t-shirt, joins Sophia on the couch. They watch the news, another political scandal, another weather forecast, another crime statistic. Sophia falls asleep around 10:30 p.m., her head on Miguel's shoulder. He carries her to bed, covers her with the blanket she likes, returns to the living room. At 11:00 p.m., Miguel descends to the basement. In the corner, behind boxes of Christmas decorations and old tax returns, sits a green military footlocker. He hasn't opened it in 8 years. The lock requires a combination, 10/28/76, the date he graduated from reconnaissance training. Inside the footlocker, his dress blues uniform, pressed and preserved in plastic. His medals, mounted in a display case he's never hung on any wall. 3 photograph albums documenting 28 years of service. Bases, teams, missions he can remember but can't discuss. And at the bottom, wrapped in an oilcloth, a Colt M1911 pistol, .45 caliber, the sidearm he carried for 2 decades. Miguel removes the pistol, checks the chamber, empty, examines the mechanism. He field strips it in 38 seconds, muscle memory. The components are clean, well-maintained from his last inspection in 2016. He reassembles it, dry fires once to test the action, smooth, perfect, wraps it again, returns it to the footlocker. He's not preparing for war. He's assessing options. The phone call he made at 6:43 p.m. was to Thomas Chen, no relation to Mrs. Chen who buys hot dogs. Thomas is a former Forcon operator who served under Miguel from 1998 to 2004. After military retirement, Thomas joined the DEA. He's currently assigned to the New York Division's Organized Crime Task Force, specializing in Mexican cartel operations. Miguel hasn't spoken to him since 2018, when they met for coffee and discussed old times. Thomas had called back at 10:15 p.m. after Miguel texted him a brief message. Need information, not official, call when secure. Their conversation lasted 12 minutes. Miguel explained the situation, the extortion attempt, the threats against his family, the Sinaloa affiliation. Thomas listened without interrupting, then provided context that made the situation both better and worse. Better. The DEA has been tracking Sinaloa operations in Queens for 18 months. They've identified the local cell leadership, documented the extortion network, built a case that's approximately 60% complete. Ricardo, the man who approached Miguel, is a mid-level enforcer with a criminal record including assault, weapons possession, and suspected involvement in 2 homicides. If Miguel cooperates, wears a wire, documents payment demands, testifies, the DEA can accelerate their case, execute warrants within 30 days. Worse, the Sinaloa Cartel doesn't respond well to resistance. In the past 2 years, 3 witnesses cooperating with federal investigations have been murdered. 2 in Mexico, 1 in Houston. The cartel has extensive resources, including corrupted law enforcement personnel, who feed them intelligence about ongoing investigations. If Miguel cooperates with the DEA, there's a significant risk the cartel will discover it before arrests happen. And if they discover it, they don't just kill the witness. They send messages. They target families. "I can't promise perfect security," Thomas had said. "We can offer witness protection after arrests, but that means you and Sophia disappear. New identities, new city, no contact with Isabella or Marcus. And even that's not guaranteed safety. These people have long memories and longer reach." "What's the alternative?" Miguel asked. "Pay the extortion. It's terrible advice, but it's the safest. 47 other vendors are paying. The cartel makes its money, everyone goes home alive. For how long?" "What do you mean?" "How long until they raise the price? How long until they demand more? How long until this neighborhood becomes completely controlled by criminals who bleed it dry?" Thomas was silent for several seconds. "You're not wrong. But Miguel, you're 72 years old. You've given enough. Let someone else fight this battle." "Who?" Miguel asked. "The police are infiltrated. The DEA needs 18 months to maybe get arrests. The other vendors are too terrified to resist. Who exactly is going to fight this battle, Thomas?" Another silence. Then, "What are you thinking?" "I'm thinking about options." "Miguel." Thomas's voice carried warning. "Whatever you're considering, don't. You're not in Fallujah anymore. This is American soil. There are laws, procedures, systems. You can't just—" "I'm not planning anything illegal," Miguel interrupted. "I'm assessing the situation. That's all." "Good. Keep it that way. Look, give me the 48 hours Ricardo gave you. Let me talk to my supervisor. See if we can move up the timeline. Maybe offer you better protection. Don't make any decisions until we talk again, okay?" "Okay." "Miguel, promise me you won't do anything stupid." "I promise I'll consider all options carefully." It wasn't the promise Thomas wanted, but it was the one Miguel could give. Now at 11:47 p.m., sitting in his basement with a footlocker full of memories and a mind full of calculations, Miguel considers those options with the same analytical precision he once applied to mission planning. Option 1. Pay the extortion. Cost, $104,000 annually, indefinitely. Result, temporary safety for his family, continued cartel control of the neighborhood, personal compromise of every principle he's lived by. Probability of long-term success, 40%. The cartel will eventually demand more, or consolidate power, or make mistakes that bring law enforcement anyway. Paying delays the problem, doesn't solve it. Option 2. Cooperate with DEA. Cost, months of dangerous investigation, potential witness protection, loss of community and family contact. Result, possible arrests, possible convictions, possible retaliation. Probability of long-term success, 55%. Better than option 1. But the risk-to-reward ratio isn't favorable. Even if the DEA succeeds, the cartel has demonstrated capacity to reach protected witnesses. Option 3. Refuse to pay, do nothing else. Cost, immediate escalation, certain retaliation against business and possibly family. Result, violence, property destruction, potential harm to Sophia or Isabella or Marcus. Probability of long-term success, 5%. This is suicide by passivity. Option 4. Eliminate the immediate threat. Miguel stops himself. That's not an option. That's the thinking that belongs to Force Reconnaissance Master Sergeant Miguel Reyes, not to Miguel the hot dog vendor, the grandfather, the man who promised Sophia he'd left violence behind. But the thought persists. What if Ricardo and his associates simply disappeared? What if the local Sinaloa cell lost 3 enforcers in ways that couldn't be traced back to Miguel? The cartel would investigate, certainly. But if the execution was professional enough, if the scene was clean enough, If alternative explanations existed, gang rivalry, internal cartel politics, random violence, the trail wouldn't necessarily lead to a 72-year-old hot dog vendor. Miguel has planned and executed missions far more complex than eliminating 3 targets. He knows how to disappear bodies. He knows how to eliminate evidence. He knows how to create narratives that misdirect investigations. He spent 2 decades doing exactly that for the United States government. But that was war. This is murder. The distinction matters. In Fallujah, Miguel eliminated enemy combatants under lawful orders, within rules of engagement, serving national security interests. What he's contemplating now is premeditated homicide regardless of justification. The law doesn't recognize "they threatened my family" as legal defense for assassination. Even if morally justified, and Miguel isn't certain it is, it's categorically illegal. There's also the practical consideration. Miguel is 72 years old. His last combat operation was 20 years ago. His reflexes have slowed. His strength has diminished. The weapons and tactics he once employed are outdated by modern standards. The 3 men who threatened him are younger, probably trained, certainly armed, and backed by an organization with resources Miguel doesn't have. Attempting to eliminate them could easily result in Miguel's death, which would leave Sofia widowed, Isabella fatherless, Marcus without his grandfather, and the community no better protected than before. Martyrdom isn't strategy. But there's a 5th option Miguel hasn't fully articulated yet. It's not cooperation with the DEA. It's not paying extortion. It's not passive resistance. It's not assassination. It's making Ricardo and his associates understand, viscerally, undeniably, that Miguel Reyes is not a target they can safely threaten. Miguel ascends from the basement at 12:23 a.m. He returns to bed, lies next to Sofia, listens to her breathing. At 1:15 a.m., he finally sleeps. His dreams are fragments of Mogadishu, the smell of burning tires, the sound of automatic weapons fire, the weight of a dying Marine in his arms. He wakes at 3:47 a.m., heart racing, shirt damp with sweat. Sofia sleeps on, undisturbed. Miguel goes to the bathroom, splashes water on his face, looks at himself in the mirror. The man looking back is 72 years old, gray-haired, lined with age. But the eyes are the same eyes that looked through a rifle scope in 24 countries. The hands are the same hands that held weapons, saved lives, ended lives. Who are you? Miguel whispers to his reflection. The answer doesn't come easily. He's Miguel Reyes, hot dog vendor. He's Miguel Reyes, husband and grandfather. He's Miguel Reyes, retired Marine. He's all of these things simultaneously, and the conflict between them is tearing him apart. At 4 a.m., he laces up his running shoes and heads out for his morning 5 miles. The streets are empty, quiet, peaceful. He runs his usual route through the neighborhood, past darkened storefronts, sleeping apartments, the cart storage facility, the subway station where Ricardo delivered his threat 12 hours ago. Miguel's mind clears with the rhythmic pounding of his feet on pavement. By mile 3, he's made his decision. By mile 5, he's refined it into an actionable plan. He's not going to pay. He's not going to run. He's not going to kill anyone, not unless absolutely necessary, not unless all other options fail, not unless they force his hand by threatening imminent harm to his family. But he is going to send a message. And that message is simple. You picked the wrong old man. The escalation. Wednesday, September 18th. Miguel operates his cart normally. Same routine, same customers, same smile and small talk. But his eyes scan constantly. He's cataloging faces, watching for surveillance, identifying Sinaloa spotters in the crowd. He identifies 2. A young woman in her 20s, pretending to browse her phone while positioned with perfect sightline to Miguel's cart, and a man in his 30s, sitting on a bench across the street smoking cigarettes, watching. They're professional enough, casual clothes, believable cover behavior, but Miguel has spent decades identifying hostile surveillance. These 2 might fool civilians, they don't fool him. At 2 p.m. during the post-lunch lull, Omar Hassan from the falafel cart walks over. He's carrying 2 cups of coffee, one for Miguel, one for himself. It's a routine they've maintained for years. You okay, amigo? Omar asks. You seem tense. Miguel accepts the coffee, nods thanks. Just tired. Didn't sleep well. Omar glances around, lowers his voice. I heard Ricardo came by yesterday. Talk to you. Miguel keeps his expression neutral. News travels fast. He came to me 6 months ago. I've been paying. Omar's voice carries shame. I wanted to refuse. My wife said pay. She was right. These people don't accept no. How much? 1,500 weekly. I make less than you, so they charge less. It's calibrated, you know. They research everyone's revenue, calculate how much they can extract without killing the business entirely. It's sophisticated. 47 vendors paying? At least. Probably more now. They've been expanding. Omar sips his coffee. Miguel, whatever you're thinking, don't. I see it in your eyes. You're thinking about fighting. Don't. You can't win. Nobody can win against these people. Miguel doesn't respond immediately. He's watching the female spotter across the street. She's talking on her phone now, probably reporting that Miguel and Omar are conversing. What if everyone refused? Miguel asks quietly. All 47 vendors. Simultaneously. What could they do? Omar shakes his head. They'd make examples. Kill a few, destroy businesses, terrorize families until the rest complied. Unity sounds good in theory. In practice, everyone's too scared. And they should be. These people killed Tony Martinez. Who's Tony Martinez? Ran a taco truck in Astoria, refused to pay last year. They burned his truck. Then they burned his apartment. Then, Omar stops, swallows hard. Then they hurt his daughter, 16 years old. Put her in the hospital for 2 weeks. Tony paid after that. Paid double as punishment for initial refusal. Miguel's jaw tightens. They hurt a child? They hurt whoever they need to hurt to maintain control. That's how cartels work, Miguel. They're not rational. You can't negotiate with them. You can't outsmart them. You pay or you suffer. Those are the only options. There are always other options. Omar studies Miguel's face. You were military, yes? Marines, someone told me. Long time ago. How long? Retired in 2004. So 20 years ago. Miguel, no disrespect, but you're 72 years old. Whatever skills you had, they're gone. Age doesn't care about training. These guys are young, armed, backed by an organization with millions of dollars and hundreds of soldiers. You're one old man with a hot dog cart. You're probably right, Miguel says, but he's thinking. Ricardo has 2 enforcers with him. The organization probably has 10 to 15 active personnel in Queens. Leadership is somewhere in Brooklyn or Manhattan. Their resources are substantial but not infinite. Their intelligence is good but not perfect. They're confident because they've succeeded 47 times. Confidence creates patterns. Patterns create vulnerabilities. Omar finishes his coffee, claps Miguel on the shoulder. Pay, amigo. Live to sell hot dogs another day, that's my advice. After Omar leaves, Miguel continues working. At 6 p.m., exactly 24 hours after Ricardo's initial visit, 3 different men approach the cart. Not Ricardo's team. New faces. One of them orders a hot dog, pays with a $20 bill, tells Miguel to keep the change. Message from Ricardo, the man says casually. 24 hours left. He hopes you're making the smart choice. I'm considering all options, Miguel replies. The man smiles. Good. Keep considering. See you tomorrow. They leave. Miguel serves his next customer, a regular named Jennifer who works at the bank. She's talking about her cat's health problems. Miguel nods, responds appropriately, but his mind is tracking the 3 new operatives. The cartel is demonstrating depth, showing Miguel they have personnel to spare, that Ricardo's team isn't the only resource they can deploy. It's psychological warfare. Miguel recognizes it because he's employed the same tactics himself. Show overwhelming force. Demonstrate inevitability. Break the opponent's will to resist before physical confrontation becomes necessary. The problem, from the cartel's perspective, is that psychological warfare works best against people who haven't experienced real warfare. Miguel has seen actual overwhelming force. He's witnessed genuine inevitability. 3 men delivering messages doesn't register as impressive to someone who survived Mogadishu. At 8 p.m., Miguel's phone rings. Thomas Chen. I talked to my supervisor. Thomas says. We can offer you protective custody starting tomorrow. DEA safe house in New Jersey, full security, accelerated investigation timeline. We bring in Ricardo and his associates within 2 weeks, pressure them to flip on leadership, roll up the whole operation within 60 days. You'd be in protective custody the entire time, then witness protection after trial. What about my family? Sophia comes with you. Isabella and Marcus too if they're willing. New identities for everyone. Relocation somewhere safe, probably Midwest, maybe Northwest. The cartel doesn't have strong presence in Montana or North Dakota. Miguel imagines Sophia teaching 3rd grade in Bismarck, Isabella nursing in Billings, Marcus growing up surrounded by snow instead of subway stations. It's not impossible. People rebuild lives in new places every day. What if I say no? Miguel asks. Then you're on your own. Pay the extortion or face the consequences or… Thomas pauses. Or whatever else you're planning that you won't tell me about. I'm not planning anything illegal. Miguel, I've known you for 26 years. I know when you're in mission planning mode. Whatever you're thinking, don't. These aren't Taliban insurgents. They're American criminals on American soil. You can't treat this like a military operation. I understand the legal distinctions, Thomas. Do you? Because I'm worried you're going to do something that lands you in prison or gets you killed. Neither outcome helps your family. Miguel is silent for several seconds, watching the evening crowd flow past his cart. You said the DEA investigation is 60% complete. What's the missing 40%? Mostly financial documentation, chain of custody evidence for money laundering charges. We have good RICO predicate offenses, but we need stronger financial connections to leadership. Why? Could one person, someone with inside access to the extortion operation, provide that missing 40%? In theory, yes. If they documented payments, recorded conversations, tracked financial flows. But Miguel, you're not inside the operation. You're a target, not a participant. What if I became a participant? Thomas's voice sharpens. Absolutely not. You are not going undercover into a cartel operation. That's insane. You have no training for that kind of work, no legal authority, no… I have 28 years of intelligence gathering experience. In military contexts, this is different. These people will kill you if they suspect anything. They're already threatening to kill me. That's extortion theater. Actual execution is different. Miguel, please, take the protective custody. Let us handle this properly. Miguel considers the offer one final time. Protective custody means safety. It also means surrender. It means abandoning the community he served for 8 years. It means teaching Ricardo and his organization that threats work, that violence succeeds, that power flows from fear. I need to think about it, Miguel says finally. You have until tomorrow at 6 p.m. That's your deadline with Ricardo. It's also your deadline with us. After that, our offer expires. Understood. Miguel, please don't do anything stupid. You keep saying that. Define stupid. Anything that doesn't end with you alive and free. Miguel ends the call. He serves his last customers of the evening, a teenage couple sharing a pretzel arguing about which movie to see. They're young, carefree, unaware that 3 blocks away an elderly veteran is deciding whether to risk everything to protect their neighborhood from predators they don't even know exist. At 9 p.m., Miguel closes his cart, but instead of heading to storage, he makes a detour. He walks 4 blocks east to a neighborhood most Queens residents avoid after dark. He's heading toward territory the Sinaloa Cartel controls openly. He finds what he's looking for at 9:34 p.m., a corner where 3 young men are conducting street-level drug transactions with practiced efficiency. They notice Miguel immediately. An old man in the wrong neighborhood is either a customer, unlikely, or a problem, more likely. One of them approaches. Old man, you lost? I need to speak with Ricardo, Miguel says calmly. Who? Don't waste my time. I know this is your corner. I know you work for the same organization. I need to speak with Ricardo. Tell him Miguel Reyes wants to talk. Tonight. The young man studies Miguel, evaluating threat level. He sees an elderly man in a work apron, no visible weapons, no aggressive posture. Ricardo don't meet with random people. Miguel pulls out his wallet, removes 5 $100 bills, half his week's cash reserve. Give him this. Tell him I'm ready to discuss terms. Tell him I'll be at my cart tomorrow at noon, alone. If he wants to talk business seriously, he'll show up. The young man takes the money, counts it, pockets it. I'll tell him. But you're wasting your money, old man. Ricardo already gave you terms. Terms are negotiable. Everything's negotiable. The young man laughs. Not with us, but sure, I'll pass the message. Don't be surprised when he shows up with 10 guys and they break your legs for wasting his time. Miguel walks away without responding. As he heads back toward safer territory, his phone buzzes. Text message from an unknown number. Received your message. Noon tomorrow. Come alone. No police. No recording devices. No games. Miguel texts back. Understood. Stop here for a second. Miguel just made a choice most people will never face. Engage directly with a violent criminal organization instead of accepting federal protection. There's no easy answer to whether he's being brave or foolish. What would you do? Not what you think you'd do. What would you actually do in that moment when the DEA offers safety but it means running, and the cartel offers violence but it means standing your ground? Think about it. Comment below. Let's have a real conversation about this. The first move Thursday, September 19th, 11:47 a.m. Miguel positions his cart exactly as always, but he's made subtle modifications. Beneath the counter, secured with Velcro strips, is a 6-inch chef's knife, not for food preparation, for defense. In his right pocket, his cell phone is set to auto-record audio with one button press. In his left pocket, a small canister of pepper spray, legal in New York for self-defense. He's not planning violence. He's preparing for contingencies. At 11:52 a.m., Ricardo arrives, but not alone. He's brought 6 men, 3 Miguel recognizes from previous encounters, 3 new faces. They surround the cart in a loose perimeter controlling the space, intimidating potential witnesses. No weapons are visible, but Miguel catalogs the bulges, 4 with concealed firearms, 2 probably carrying knives. Ricardo steps forward, smiling his gold-toothed smile. Miguel, you wanted to talk. We're listening. Somewhere private, Miguel says, gesturing toward the alley 15 feet away. Ricardo laughs. I don't think so. We talk right here. You have something to say. Say it. Miguel nods. He expected this. I want to propose alternative terms. There are no alternative terms. 2,000 weekly. That's the price. What if I pay more? This surprises Ricardo. His smile falters slightly. More? 3,000 weekly, but I want something in return. What? Information. Protection that actually protects. And I want to understand the organization I'm paying. Who's in charge? Where does the money go? What guarantees do I have that payment ensures safety? Ricardo studies Miguel carefully. Why do you care where money goes? Because I'm a businessman. I pay 3,000 monthly for this cart location to the city. I pay 1,400 for permits. I pay 800 for supplies. I understand business expenses. What I don't understand is protection payments to an organization I know nothing about. That seems like poor business practice. Ricardo's expression hardens. You don't need to understand, you just need to pay. I need to understand. I'm not paying 3,000 to some random guys who might not even have authority to guarantee protection. I want to meet leadership. I want assurances. One of Ricardo's men, the one Miguel identified earlier as Javier, steps forward. This old man's playing games. Let's just take him in back and... Ricardo raises a hand, cutting him off. Shut up. He focuses on Miguel again. You're asking to meet people who don't meet with hot dog vendors. Then I'm asking to understand the chain of command. Prove to me this is a legitimate operation, not 3 guys running a scam. You think we're scamming? Ricardo's voice drops to a dangerous register. I think you're threatening my family without demonstrating organizational backing. For all I know, you're freelancing. If I'm paying premium rates, I want premium assurances. It's a gamble. Miguel is simultaneously offering more money, which should please them, while questioning their legitimacy, which should insult them. The cognitive dissonance is intentional. He's testing Ricardo's authority, probing organizational structure, gathering intelligence. Ricardo pulls out his phone, steps away, makes a call. The conversation is brief, conducted in rapid Spanish. Miguel catches fragments. Old man wants to meet, offering more money, asking questions. What do you want me to do? Ricardo returns. Someone wants to talk to you. He hands Miguel the phone. The voice on the other end is older, authoritative, accented. Mr. Reyes, my name is Hector. Ricardo works for me. I understand you have concerns about our operation. I have questions, Miguel says carefully. I'm being asked to pay significant money with minimal information. Information is earned, Mr. Reyes, but I appreciate business-minded thinking. Here's what I'll offer. You begin payments immediately. 2,000 weekly, not the 3 you offered. Show good faith. After 4 weeks of compliance, we discuss expanding your role. Perhaps you become more than a payer. Perhaps you help us identify other vendors who need our services. We reward cooperation, Mr. Reyes. We punish resistance. Miguel's mind processes rapidly. Hector is offering recruitment, bringing Miguel inside the organization as a collaborator. It's exactly what he needs to gather the intelligence Thomas said was missing. But it's also extraordinarily dangerous. I need time to consider, Miguel says. You have until 6 p.m. today. Ricardo will collect your first payment then, $2,000 cash. After that, we talk further. The call ends. Ricardo takes his phone back, watches Miguel with calculating eyes. You heard the man, Ricardo says. 6 o'clock, 2,000. Don't make us come looking for you. They leave. Miguel watches them disappear into the crowd, then immediately texts Thomas Chen. They offered recruitment, want me inside the organization. What do I do? Thomas calls within 2 minutes. Absolutely not. Do not accept. Do not engage further. Take protective custody now. This is exactly the scenario I warned you about. It's also exactly the intelligence opportunity you need, Miguel counters. You said you need financial documentation, organizational structure, chain of command. I can get that. You're not a trained undercover operative. I've gathered intelligence in hostile territories for 28 years. Military intelligence is different from criminal infiltration. Miguel, please. This isn't your fight. It became my fight when they threatened Marcus. Thomas is silent for several seconds. If you do this, and I am not endorsing this, you need to understand the parameters. You cannot carry a weapon. You cannot take any action without consulting me first. You document everything, record everything when possible, and you extract the moment I tell you to extract. Understood? Understood. And Miguel? If they suspect you for even a second, they will kill you. Not arrest you, not threaten you, kill you. Are you prepared for that? Miguel thinks about Sophia grading papers at the kitchen table. Isabella in her nursing scrubs, exhausted from a double shift. Marcus in his Little League uniform, asking when Grandpa will teach him to throw a curveball. I'm prepared, Miguel says. At 6 p.m., Ricardo returns with Javier and Luis. Miguel has the money ready, 2,000 in cash, 20s and 50s, withdrawn from his business account that afternoon. Ricardo counts it carefully, nods. Good. Smart choice. Hector wants to meet you tomorrow, 2 p.m. I'll pick you up at your cart. Where are we going? You'll find out when we get there. Bring your phone but no recording devices, we'll check. If you're wired, you die. If you bring police, you die. If you tell anyone about this meeting, you die. Clear? Clear. Ricardo leans in close. I don't trust you, old man. You're too calm, too comfortable. Most people are terrified by now. You're not. That makes me suspicious. I was a Marine for 28 years, Miguel says. 3 guys threatening me doesn't register as scary compared to what I've experienced. You think we're just 3 guys? Ricardo smiles coldly. We're the tip of an organization that moves $30 million annually through New York alone. We have soldiers, resources, connections you can't imagine. Your Marines faced enemies with borders. We have no borders. We're everywhere. Then you should have no problem with one old man asking questions. Ricardo studies Miguel for a long moment, then steps back. Tomorrow, 2 p.m. Don't be late. After they leave, Miguel immediately calls Thomas. They want me to meet someone named Hector tomorrow, 2 p.m. They're picking me up. Location? They wouldn't say. They're checking for wires. Then we can't wire you. Too risky. Thomas pauses, thinking. Can you wear a tracker? Something small enough they won't find in a pat-down? Possibly. What do you have? I can get you a micro GPS unit, sewn into clothing, almost undetectable unless they strip search you. It'll transmit your location real time. We'll have teams ready to move if something goes wrong. How close will your teams be? Close enough to respond in 5 to 7 minutes. If something goes wrong, 5 to 7 minutes is too long. It's the best I can offer. Miguel, you can still back out. Take protective custody. Let us handle this differently. Miguel looks across Roosevelt Avenue, watching the evening crowd. Families, workers, students, his community. The people he's served hot dogs to for 8 years. The people Ricardo's organization is bleeding dry with extortion, drugs, violence. No, Miguel says. I'm seeing this through. Act 3. The aftermath. The deeper game. Friday, September 20th, 1:47 p.m. Miguel wears his usual clothes, jeans, work shirt, comfortable shoes. Sewn into the lining of his shirt, between the shoulder blades where it's nearly impossible to detect, is a GPS tracker the size of a postage stamp. Thomas delivered it this morning at 6 a.m., along with final instructions. We'll be tracking you. Teams are positioned throughout Queens and Brooklyn. You get in trouble, you say the phrase, "I need to call Sophia." That's the extraction signal. We come in hard and fast. Understand? Miguel understood. But he also understands that extraction signals only work if you're alive to say them. At 2 p.m., a black SUV pulls up to Miguel's cart. Ricardo in the driver's seat, Javier in the passenger seat, Luis in the back. Ricardo gestures. Get in. Miguel climbs into the back next to Luis. Immediately, Javier turns around and says, "Arms out." They pat him down professionally, checking waistband, ankles, pockets, running hands along his torso and legs. They find his phone, his wallet, his keys. Nothing else. They miss the GPS tracker. He's clean, Javier confirms. Ricardo pulls into traffic, heading east. They drive in silence for 20 minutes, eventually crossing into Brooklyn. The neighborhood deteriorates gradually. Cleaner streets giving way to graffiti, businesses giving way to empty lots. They pull up to a warehouse in an industrial area near the waterfront. Out, Ricardo says. Inside the warehouse, Miguel counts 12 men. Most are young, armed, watching with predatory attention. In the center of the space, behind a desk that looks absurdly formal in this setting, sits an older man in his 60s. Gray hair, expensive suit, reading glasses. He looks like a banker or lawyer, not a cartel boss. "Mr. Reyes," the man says, standing, extending a hand. "I'm Hector Maldonado. Thank you for coming." Miguel shakes his hand. Firm grip, steady gaze. "Thank you for the meeting. Please sit." Hector gestures to a chair across from the desk. "Can we offer you coffee? Water?" "I'm fine." Hector sits, studies Miguel with intelligent eyes. "Ricardo tells me you're asking questions, that you want to understand our organization before committing to payment. That's unusual. Most vendors simply pay. I'm not most vendors." "No, you're not. I did research on you, Mr. Reyes. Miguel Alejandro Reyes. Born 1952, San Antonio. Enlisted in Marines 1970. Served until 2004. Decorated veteran. Force reconnaissance. Very impressive record." Miguel keeps his expression neutral, but internally, he's recalibrating. Hector has access to military records, either through corruption or hacking. That demonstrates sophisticated resources. "That was a long time ago," Miguel says. "Skills don't disappear. Training doesn't vanish. A man with your background, you could be valuable to us." "More valuable than a hot dog vendor paying weekly tribute." "Valuable how?" Hector leans back in his chair. "Our organization requires discipline, tactical thinking, operational security. Most of our personnel are young, enthusiastic, but lacking strategic sophistication. Someone with your experience could help professionalize our operations. Training, planning, execution." Miguel's stomach tightens. They're not just recruiting him as an informant. They're recruiting him as a tactical advisor. It's both an opportunity and a trap. "You want me to train cartel soldiers? I want you to help us operate more efficiently, less violence, more precision, better outcomes for everyone." Hector's tone is reasonable, almost gentle. "Consider it. You make far more than selling hot dogs. You protect your family by being inside our structure rather than outside it. You use skills you've spent a lifetime developing. Everyone benefits. Except law enforcement. Hector smiles. Mr. Reyes, law enforcement is a concern for amateurs. We employ former NYPD officers, former federal agents. We have relationships at every level. The law is a business partner, not an enemy. Miguel lets silence fill the space, then asks, "What would this role pay?" $10,000 monthly. Plus we forgive all extortion payments from your business. Plus protection for your family. Real protection, not threats. And what exactly would I be doing? Initially, assessment. Review our security protocols, identify weaknesses, recommend improvements. Then training. Teach our personnel proper tradecraft, operational discipline. Eventually planning. Help us expand into new territories more efficiently. It's exactly the intelligence Thomas needs. Organizational structure, expansion plans, security protocols. But accepting the role crosses a line from gathering information to active participation in criminal enterprise. I need time to consider, Miguel says. Hector's expression hardens slightly. Mr. Reyes, I'm offering you a choice very few people receive. Most people we approach don't get options. You're receiving this opportunity because of your background and because I believe you could genuinely help us. But the offer has an expiration. You decide today or you return to being just another vendor paying tribute. Miguel meets Hector's gaze steadily. If I agree, I need assurances. Written guarantee that my family is protected. Clear scope of work. Understanding of what you expect. Of course. We're businessmen, Mr. Reyes. Everything is documented. Then I need to see documentation, organizational chart, financial structure. What I'm agreeing to work with. Hector studies Miguel for 10 seconds that feel like minutes. Then he nods. Ricardo, bring the files. Ricardo retrieves a folder from a filing cabinet, places it on the desk. Hector opens it, begins explaining. Miguel listens, asks questions, and mentally photographs every detail. The organization is called Nueva York Operations, a Sinaloa Cartel subsidiary managing the New York territory. Annual revenue. Approximately $32 million from drug distribution, $8 million from extortion, $4 million from human trafficking, $6 million from money laundering. Personnel, 67 active members across Queens, Brooklyn, and the Bronx. Leadership structure, Hector as regional director, 3 zone commanders below him. Approximately 15 enforcers like Ricardo, the rest street-level dealers, and support. Hector shows Miguel organizational charts, financial ledgers, territory maps. It's extraordinarily incriminating evidence. Exactly what the DEA needs to dismantle the entire operation. It's also a test. No actual cartel leader would show this information to a potential recruit unless they were absolutely certain of loyalty or absolutely certain the recruit wouldn't survive to share it. Miguel realizes with crystal clarity, Hector is either incredibly confident or planning to kill him regardless of his answer. This is impressive, Miguel says carefully. Professional operation. We take business seriously. So, Mr. Reyes, are you interested in joining us? Miguel's mind races through scenarios. If he says yes, he's potentially deeper inside than any law enforcement agency has achieved, but also painting a target on his back the moment they suspect anything. If he says no, he walks out of this warehouse. If they let him walk out. I need to call Sophia, Miguel says. She deserves to know I'm considering this kind of change. Hector's eyes narrow. You can call her after we finish. It's important. She's my wife. I don't make major life decisions without consulting her. No phone calls during this meeting. The phrase, I need to call Sophia, was the extraction signal. Thomas and his teams should be mobilizing right now. 5 to 7 minutes, Thomas said. Miguel needs to stall. Then I need more time to consider, Miguel says. This is a significant decision. You're asking me to join a criminal organization. That's not something I take lightly. Hector's expression goes cold. Mr. Reyes, I've been patient. I've shown you courtesy, but my patience has limits. You decide now, yes or no. Around the warehouse, the 12 soldiers have shifted positions subtly. They're surrounding Miguel's chair, hands near weapons. This is the moment. Accept and become a criminal. Refuse and possibly die, or the warehouse door explodes inward. Federal agents, DEA, hands up, now! Thomas's teams come in fast, 12 agents in tactical gear, weapons raised, shouting commands. Hector's soldiers freeze, calculating odds. A few reach for weapons. The agents respond instantly. Drop it! Drop it now! Hector stands slowly, hands visible, face expressionless. He looks at Miguel with something like respect. You're wired. No, Miguel says honestly. GPS tracker, they followed me. Clever. Hector's tone carries no anger, just professional acknowledgement. You're better than I estimated, Mr. Reyes. Ricardo, however, is furious. He lunges toward Miguel, hand reaching for a concealed weapon. Miguel moves instinctively, muscle memory from thousands of hours of training. He rises, pivots, drives his palm into Ricardo's sternum. Ricardo stumbles back. DEA agents converge immediately, tackling Ricardo to the ground, securing him in seconds. Miguel, you okay? Thomas Chen appears, helping Miguel to his feet. I'm fine. You got everything? Organizational structure, financial records, personnel lists, everything you need. Thomas grins. Outstanding work. He turns to his team. Secure all files, photograph everything, bag every piece of paper in this room. I want complete documentation. The arrests take 40 minutes. Hector Maldonado, Ricardo, Javier, Luis, and 9 other personnel are taken into custody. The warehouse yields computers, financial records, weapons, and approximately $400,000 in cash. It's a devastating blow to Sinaloa operations in New York. Broader implications. The aftermath unfolds over the following weeks with the methodical precision of federal prosecution. Hector Maldonado is charged with racketeering, drug trafficking, money laundering, and conspiracy to commit murder. The evidence Miguel helped collect, combined with the DEA's existing 18-month investigation, builds an overwhelming case. Hector's attorney negotiates a plea deal, 25 years in federal prison in exchange for testimony against higher-level cartel leadership in Mexico. Ricardo faces similar charges plus assault for his attempt to attack Miguel. He receives 18 years. Javier and Luis receive 12 years each. The street-level personnel receive varying sentences from probation to 5 years depending on their involvement. But the cartel doesn't disappear. Within 3 weeks, a new regional director arrives from Mexico to rebuild Nueva York operations. The DEA monitors him immediately, beginning another investigation. The war doesn't end. It just enters a new phase. For the 47 vendors who'd been paying extortion, the immediate threat dissolves. The new cartel leadership, aware of heightened law enforcement scrutiny, pulls back from the extortion operation temporarily. Miguel becomes a local hero, the elderly vendor who stood up to the cartel. News media runs stories. Community organizations honor him. The mayor issues a commendation. Miguel declines most interviews. He accepts the commendation because Sofia insists it's important for the community to see resistance rewarded. But he doesn't want hero status. He wants quiet. Thomas Chen receives a promotion. His successful operation dismantling a major cartel network earns him recognition and advancement to supervisor of the Organized Crime Task Force. He credits Miguel's cooperation as essential to the operation's success. The legal implications for Miguel are complex. His attorney, provided by the DEA as part of witness protection agreements, explains that Miguel's actions exist in a gray area. He wasn't officially working for law enforcement, so he wasn't a sanctioned undercover operative, but he was cooperating with an active investigation, which provides some legal protection. The district attorney reviews Miguel's case and declines to pursue any charges related to his infiltration of the cartel meeting. However, Miguel's testimony is required for the trials. Over the next 18 months, he spends approximately 40 hours in depositions, court appearances, and grand jury testimony. It's exhausting, tedious work, recounting the same events repeatedly for different legal audiences, but it's necessary to ensure convictions stick. The psychological toll is harder to measure. Miguel's therapist notes increased anxiety, recurring nightmares, hypervigilance symptoms consistent with PTSD exacerbation. Confronting the cartel reactivated trauma Miguel had spent 8 years managing. The violence he witnessed, not physical violence in the warehouse arrest, but the structural violence of the organization's operations, reminded him of things he'd seen in Somalia, Iraq, Afghanistan. You saved your community, his therapist tells him during a session in November, but you also paid a personal cost. That cost is real and valid. Sophia worries constantly. She supported Miguel's decision but didn't truly understand the risk until DEA agents came to their apartment to explain protective protocols. For 6 weeks after the arrests, federal agents provided security, watching their apartment, escorting Sophia to school, monitoring Isabella and Marcus. The visible protection reassured Sophia while simultaneously terrifying her by confirming the danger was real. Isabella has mixed feelings. Pride that her father stood up for what's right. Anger that he risked his life without telling her beforehand. Fear about potential retaliation. You could have died, she tells him one Sunday when he's visiting Marcus. You almost did die. And you didn't think we deserved to know you were doing something that dangerous? Miguel has no good answer. I was trying to protect you by keeping you uninformed. If you didn't know, you couldn't be implicated. That's not protection, Dad. That's secrecy. There's a difference. She's right. Miguel knows she's right. It's one of many things he'd do differently in retrospect. Marcus, at 6 years old, doesn't fully understand what happened. He knows Grandpa helped the police catch bad guys. He thinks it's cool, like a superhero. Miguel doesn't correct this interpretation. Let the boy have heroes. Reality can wait. The long-term consequences. By December 2024, 3 months after the warehouse arrests, life has returned to something approaching normal. Miguel still operates his hot dog cart. Revenue has actually increased, partly because of publicity, partly because the neighborhood feels safer, partly because vendors who'd been paying extortion now have disposable income to spend at each other's businesses. Omar Hassan visits Miguel's cart frequently now, bringing coffee, talking about soccer and politics and family. Their friendship has deepened through shared experience. You did what I couldn't, Omar tells him one afternoon. You said no when everyone else said yes. I'm grateful, but I'm also glad I didn't have to be the one to do it. Miguel understands. Heroism looks different depending on your position. Omar has 3 children under 12 and a wife with chronic health issues. The calculation of risk versus reward is different for everyone. The Sinaloa Cartel's new leadership in New York operates more carefully now. They know they're being watched. Street-level operations continue. Drugs still flow, money still launders, crimes still happen. But the visible extortion network hasn't returned to Jackson Heights. The cartel learned that heavy-handed tactics invite attention. Miguel's role in the investigation remains partially classified. The DEA can't reveal all the intelligence he provided without compromising ongoing operations. Publicly, the story is simple. Miguel refused to pay, contacted law enforcement, cooperated with an investigation, provided crucial testimony. That's true, but incomplete. The full truth, that Miguel deliberately infiltrated a cartel meeting, gathered intelligence under extreme risk, and essentially operated as an unsanctioned field agent, isn't publicized. It would raise too many legal questions, set too many uncomfortable precedents. Thomas visits Miguel occasionally, usually bringing news about the case. In April 2025, Hector Maldonado's plea deal is finalized. His testimony leads to indictments against 3 high-level Sinaloa leaders in Mexico. Extradition proceedings begin. It's a meaningful victory, though Thomas acknowledges, we're fighting a hydra. Cut off one head, another grows. But each head we cut makes the organization weaker. Miguel asks the question that's been bothering him since September. Would it have been better if I'd just paid? Thomas considers carefully before answering. Better for who? For you personally? Probably. Paying would have been safer, easier, less traumatic. For your family? Debatable. You'd be financially worse off but physically safer. For the community? Absolutely not. You standing up gave 47 other vendors freedom from extortion. You helped dismantle an organization that was poisoning this neighborhood. That matters. But the cartel's still here, in diminished capacity, and other vendors know resistance is possible. That changes the calculus. Fear is power, Miguel. You broke the fear. That's not a small thing. Miguel wants to believe that. Some days he does. Other days he lies awake at 3 a.m. wondering if he should have taken protective custody, moved to North Dakota, let someone else fight this battle. Sophia tells him, "You did what you thought was right. That's all anyone can do." She's forgiven him for the risk mostly, but she's also made him promise never again. Whatever battles come next, someone else fights them. Miguel has given enough. Isabella remains cautious around him, protective of Marcus in new ways. She doesn't leave her son alone with Miguel as casually as before, not because she doesn't trust her father, but because she's newly aware of how dangerous his protective instincts can be. Love and fear coexist uncomfortably. The legal proceedings continue through 2025. Trials, appeals, sentencing hearings. Miguel testifies 8 times total. By July 2025, most defendants have been sentenced. The legal machinery grinds slowly, but it grinds. Miguel turns 73 in October 2025. Sophia organizes a small party, just family and close friends. Thomas attends, bringing a gift, a framed commendation from the DEA director thanking Miguel for his invaluable cooperation in a significant law enforcement operation. Miguel accepts it graciously, then puts it in the basement with his military medals. Some honors are meant to be acknowledged, not displayed. Reflection and meaning. On a cold morning in December 2025, Miguel runs his usual 5 miles through Jackson Heights. The neighborhood is waking up. Store owners preparing for the day, commuters heading to the subway, children walking to school. It looks peaceful. That's deceptive. Miguel knows what exists beneath the surface. Poverty, addiction, crime, exploitation. The cartel is one symptom of deeper problems. But it's also beautiful. Families, communities, people trying to build decent lives despite obstacles. That's worth protecting. That's what Miguel fought for. Not abstract justice or law enforcement statistics, but the actual people who live here. His therapist asked him recently, "Do you regret your choice?" Miguel thought carefully before answering. "I regret the cost. I regret the danger I put my family through. I regret the trauma I reactivated. But I don't regret standing up. Someone had to. It happened to be me. Do you think you did the right thing?" "I think I did what I was capable of doing." Whether that's right depends on your framework. Legally, it was complicated. Morally, it was necessary. Practically, it achieved results. I can live with that. The psychological reality is more complex than public narratives allow. Miguel isn't a simple hero. Heroes in movies don't spend nights awake, sweating through nightmares, seeing dead Marines mixed with cartel enforcers in their dreams. Heroes don't snap at their wives for minor issues because baseline anxiety is constantly elevated. Heroes don't avoid crowds because the hypervigilance is exhausting. Miguel is a 73-year-old man who spent 28 years learning violence, 8 years trying to forget it, and 1 week remembering it all to protect his community. That's not heroism. That's survival with purpose. PTSD doesn't care about righteousness. Miguel's therapist keeps emphasizing that point. The brain processes trauma identically whether the violent event was justified or not. Miguel saved lives in that warehouse by cooperating with law enforcement. His body still treats the experience as life-threatening danger, because it was. He's managing it. Therapy helps. Medication helps. Sophia's patient support helps. Running helps. The routine of his hot dog cart helps. Most days are okay. Some days aren't. That's the deal you make with trauma. It never fully leaves, you just learn to carry it better. The broader question haunts Miguel. What does his experience say about American society? That elderly veterans need to risk their lives because systems fail. That communities can only be protected through individual heroism rather than structural solutions. That cartels operate so openly that random citizens must become unofficial law enforcement. Those are uncomfortable questions without easy answers. Miguel recognizes the systems failed long before September 2024. Law enforcement was investigating but moving slowly. Political will to address cartel violence was insufficient. Economic conditions created markets for drugs and exploitation. His individual action addressed a symptom, not the disease. But symptoms matter. The 47 vendors who aren't paying extortion anymore. Their lives are meaningfully better. That's not systemic change, but it's real change. Miguel has learned to value small victories while acknowledging they don't solve larger problems. 6 months after the warehouse arrests, Miguel still works the same corner, serves the same customers, maintains the same routine. But something has changed. He carries himself differently, less invisibly, more intentionally. The community knows who he is now. That brings both respect and burden. Young people sometimes approach his cart, wanting to talk about standing up to bullies, resisting injustice, finding courage. Miguel tries to discourage hero worship. I was scared the entire time, he tells them honestly. I just decided the cost of doing nothing was higher than the cost of doing something. That's not courage, that's math. But they don't believe him. They want heroes. American culture craves heroes. Miguel understands that need while resisting the label. What Miguel did wasn't extraordinary by his own standards. Compared to 217 combat missions, infiltrating one cartel meeting barely registers. But by civilian standards, it was remarkable. That gap, between how Miguel sees himself and how others see him, creates uncomfortable distance. He's not a hero. He's a man who made a choice. That choice had consequences. Some good, some difficult, all permanent. He lives with those consequences daily. The neighborhood is safer. His family is more anxious. The cartel is weakened. His PTSD is worse. Justice was served, his peace was disturbed. Trade-offs. Life is full of them. 4 months later, on a Tuesday afternoon in December, Miguel serves hot dogs at his cart exactly as he has for years. The temperature is 34 degrees. Coffee sales are strong. Mrs. Chen stops by for her usual order. Omar brings coffee from his cart. A teenage couple shares a pretzel, arguing about basketball. It's ordinary. Beautifully, wonderfully ordinary. Miguel watches the crowd flow past. Hundreds of people living their lives unaware of the invisible war that was fought to protect their ability to do exactly that. They don't need to know. Their ignorance is the victory. At 6:15 p.m., as Miguel prepares to close his cart, a young man approaches. Early 20s, nervous energy, looking around cautiously. Miguel tenses slightly. Old habits. "Are you Miguel Reyes?" the young man asks. "Yes. I heard what you did. With the cartel. That was brave." Miguel starts to deflect, to minimize, to redirect. Then he stops. Maybe this young man needs to hear something different. "It was necessary," Miguel says quietly. "Someone had to stand up. It happened to be me. But you know what the bravest thing was? Asking for help. Cooperating with law enforcement. Trusting the system even when I wasn't sure it would work. That's harder than fighting. Anyone can throw a punch. Building something, trust, community, justice, that requires real courage." The young man nods slowly, processing. "Thank you," he says finally, then walks away. Miguel finishes closing his cart, wheels it towards storage, walks home through his neighborhood. The streets are busy with evening activity, restaurants filling up, stores closing, families heading home. It's a Tuesday in December in Jackson Heights, Queens. Nothing special, everything important. Sophia is home when Miguel arrives, cooking dinner. Isabella is visiting with Marcus, who immediately runs to hug his grandfather. They eat together. Rice, beans, chicken, stories about Marcus's school day. Normal, domestic, safe. Later, after Isabella and Marcus leave, after dishes are washed and news is watched, Miguel and Sophia sit on the couch in comfortable silence. She takes his hand. "You okay?" she asks. It's become her standard question since September. "Yeah," Miguel says. And today it's true. "I'm okay." Outside, Queens hums with life. Inside, a 73-year-old veteran and his wife sit in their apartment, having survived another day. Tomorrow, Miguel will wake at 4 a.m., run 5 miles, sell hot dogs, come home. The routine continues. But something has shifted. Miguel understands now what he didn't fully grasp in all his years of military service. Protection isn't about destroying enemies. It's about preserving normal. The mundane miracle of people living their lives without fear. That's what he fought for in September. That's what he protects every day simply by showing up, making hot dogs, being present in his community. Warriors, Miguel realizes, aren't people who seek violence. They're people who'll accept violence if necessary to protect peace. The distinction matters. It's the difference between glorifying combat and recognizing it as tragedy with purpose. 3 months after his 73rd birthday, Miguel Reyes still sells hot dogs on the corner of Roosevelt Avenue and 74th Street in Jackson Heights. To most people, he's just Miguel, friendly old man, good hot dogs, fair prices. A few know his story. Fewer understand its cost. Miguel prefers it that way. Heroes in movies get celebrated. Real people just try to survive their choices. Miguel is surviving his. Some days better than others. Most days, well enough. The cart, the corner, the routine, the community. This is what victory looks like. Not dramatic, not cinematic, not even particularly interesting to outsiders, but real, meaningful, earned. Miguel Reyes went to war one more time at 72 years old. He won. He lost, he survived, he's still here, still standing, still serving his community in the only way he knows how. With discipline, purpose, and quiet dignity. That's the story. Not of a hero. Of a man who chose to act when action was necessary, paid the price that choice demanded, and keeps moving forward because that's what you do. The hot dogs are excellent, by the way. Mrs. Chen says they're the best in Queens. Miguel smiles and says thank you. It's enough.